If messing about on the water is your idea of fun, then our next village is sure to make a big splash. We're in the village of Rowhedge in Essex on the lovely River Colne. Our judge and village historian, Alex Langlands, has set sail to discover what keeps this village afloat.
I'm travelling up the River Colne to the picturesque maritime village of Rowhedge. This is the river that people have enjoyed for centuries, come rain or shine.
As well as its history of boat building, we've shortlisted this old maritime village because of its rich tradition of fishing and how it has evolved into the modern 21st century Rowhedge we see today.
Rowhedge deserves to be Village of the Year. It's got a great heart, it's a really friendly place, and it's a beautiful place.
And central to everything that goes on here is, of course, life on the river. And to celebrate this backbone of village life, Rowhedge hosts an annual regatta, but more of that later. And for the residents, the River Colne is everything, especially for 83-year-old Mrs. Trellis and her 84-year-old aquatic chum, Barbara.
Ah, yeah, that is nippy.
Well, I've been swimming in this river since 1969.
And probably a little, yes, probably about 30 years for me.
It's so lovely to swim and be free in the water and move about in the water. You don't have to go to a smelly old swimming pool.
It's a wonderful free asset, I mean, for boating, canoeing, swimming.
Fishing competition we had on Saturday.
Yes, we are the veteran swimmers. A few other young people come from time to time and they think we start raving mad. We're the regular mad couple, put it like that.
Bravo, ladies.
Rowhedge owes its origins to the Age of Sail, a period within British history when Britannia was set to rule the waves, and everywhere I look around this village I see symbols that demonstrate these villagers recognise that rich maritime heritage.
The tradition of boat building here stretches back over 200 years. This area is also renowned for building these beauties, the Essex fishing smack. Today, building boats is seen as a heritage craft, but helping to keep those traditions firmly alive is Fabian. A resident for 30 years, as the only boat builder left in the village, he has seen the industry almost become a memory.
I try not to get too sentimental about it, really. You know, traditions die out in different communities and places, but so long as there are people here boating and sailing, then the regatta may be kept going and the heritage may still be appreciated.
But this saltwater riverside village is responsible for more than the existence of the boats. Some of the houses' identities are also thanks to the River Colne.
I like this. This is an indication of just how much this village owes its origins to the regatta, because the winning yachtsmen would take their earnings and they'd spend it on building a cottage on these roads leading down to the quayside, and in honour of the vessel with which they won the race, they would name the cottages after it. This is nice to see here. This is tar and pitch which has been daubed onto this brick wall to protect both the bricks and the mortar between them, and you can just see it cracking here. And this stuff would have been widely available in fishing villages like Rowhedge because it's the material with which you protected the underside of your fishing boat. And what's really great is that this style of decorating your building is still informing some of the new builds in the village.
When it comes to sending a village through to the semi-finals, the judges consider its history and heritage, which of course includes its architecture. Historically, this Georgian villa was the first house seen by returning fishermen as they came round the bend of the river. Once they had seen Colne View, they knew they were home. It It is now owned by Peter and Di. Built in the 1830s and at one time the grandest house in the village, Colne View is one of the most familiar sights on the riverfront.
Rowhedge is such a funny place because you cannot say I'm just popping out anywhere, because if you go to just 500 yards down the road, you get your newspaper, you are gone nearly half an hour or an hour, because everybody says hello, or you've got dog walkers, or, you know, so you have to make that allowance in our life, don't you? And now that we're retired, we can have...
we've got that time.
We've got that time, so it's good. Come on, you.
I like the village of Rowhedge. It's my kind of place. It's salt of the earth, and it's clear that it's all about the river, and even newcomers to this village will recognise the importance of this river as it runs like an artery alongside the village. It's clearly its lifeblood.
4 days later, and the weather's perked up for the biggest day in the Rowhedge calendar, the regatta. Stretching back to the 18th century, the event is an excuse for salty sea dogs and landlubbers to sample a little grog and have a good time. Of course, it's not all about the water. There are events, including the greasy pole, where competitors have to try to reach the flag before slipping off. However, the main event is the inter-village boat race between Rowhedge, Brightlingsea and Wivenhoe. They compete in locally built gigs. It's been held for 5 years now, and Rowhedge has won for the past 4. So will they be able to retain the trophy? As they round the bend, Rowhedge is in the lead. And it's first and second place for Rowhedge, leaving their fiercest rivals, Brightlingsea, dead in the water.
First and second, which is what we wanted. Tough, but yeah, it's the result we wanted. Really good.
Rowhedge, a pretty village that has grown up on the banks of its river. But will its rich maritime history be enough to steer it into our semi-finals? Or will a village from Hertfordshire beat it, where Juliet learns a thing or two about cricket